other common illnesses. This comes a day after the federal government said it is considering possible restrictions on flights from countries affected by the Ebola virus as part of fresh measures to prevent any outbreak in Nigeria.
Speaker of House of Representatives Tajuddin Abbas has congratulated President Tinubu on the third anniversary of his administration. Abbas described the president's economic and governance reforms as bold decisions capable of laying the foundation for long-term national stability and growth. Abbas, in a statement issued today by Special Advisor on Media and Publicity, Musa Krishi, said President Tinubu inherited a country facing deep economic and structural challenges, but opted for difficult reforms rather than politically convenient decisions. The speaker cited improvement in economic indicators, noting that Nigeria's gross domestic product growth rose from 2.74% in 2023 to 3.87% in 2025, while international financial institutions project further growth in 2026. Abbas reaffirmed the commitment of the 10th House of Representatives to supporting policies and legislation aimed at improving the welfare of Nigerians and strengthening national development.
Defense Minister Christopher Musa has scored President Tinubu's administration 65 to 70% on security performance. While speaking with newsmen today, Musa said terrorism has been drastically reduced to isolated kidnapping incidents, even as a wave of school abductions across several states continue to be a big challenge for the nation. The minister framed kidnapping largely as a societal crisis rather than a security failure, pointing to the breakdown of family structure as the root cause and stating that those engaged in kidnapping were driven by greed and the refusal to embrace honest labor. He called for a shift in values around wealth creation. Musa also highlighted deepening international partnerships, saying the United States, Britain, France, Brazil, and Turkey were actively contributing platforms and expertise to Nigeria's counter-terrorism efforts.
Meanwhile, the Oyo State government has reiterated its commitment to ensuring safe return of the abducted teachers and students in Oluyole local government area. The Executive Assistant to Governor Seyi Makinde on security matters, retired CP Sunday Odukoya, made this known while addressing members of the Oyo State Teachers Action Group during a peaceful protest at the State Secretariat Agodi, Ibadan. Details are presented by the Governor's Office correspondent, Olalekan Sulaiman.
Exactly 2 weeks after the abduction of teachers and students in Yawata and Esele community in Oluyole local government area of Oyo State, some teachers under the aegis of the Oyo State Teachers Action Group staged a peaceful protest across the state. The protesters also visited the State Secretariat Agodi, Ibadan to register their grievances over the abduction of the teachers and students. Addressing the protesters, the Executive Assistant to Governor Makinde on security matters, CP Sunday Odukoya, retired, appealed for patience and cooperation from stakeholders, assuring them that the government and security agencies are making concerted effort to secure the release of the victims.
Let me assure you also that the government is not folding hands on this matter. It's only that there are some issues that we don't need to open up to the public, so that all our methodology on this matter will not be leaked out. But I assure you, since this incident happened, the governor has been on top of the situation.
CP Odukoya, who commended the protesters for their peaceful conduct, further assured them that the state government will not prosecute anyone for participating in the protest.
Do you know that in some states, when people go and protest, they beat them? We've never done it once here, and we will never do it.
And your government will not send supervisors to school to go and bring list of those who are absent today?
Do we? That is victimization.
Exactly.
It's out of this government. This government will not do that.
Earlier in his address, the leader of the group, Reverend Bumi Thomas, charged the state government to intensify action in ensuring the victims are returned safely to their families.
Since what they are doing is lawful, they are demanding for pragmatic action of the government to secure release of the abducted teachers and students. So since it is within the ambit of the law, we are giving them a moral support.
Security personnel were seen monitoring the activities of the protesters across Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. Oluyole Sulaiman, BCS News.
A security scholar at the University of Ibadan, Professor Oluyole Albert, has warned that Nigeria may be heading towards a dangerous situation if security issues continue to be politicized. Professor Albert gave the warning today while discussing the topic State of the Nation on the BCOS Current Affairs Breakfast Program, AM 120. BCOS reporter Fidora Folagboye monitored the program.
The state of the nation continues to generate concerns as insecurity poses serious threats across different parts of Nigeria. Increasing cases of kidnapping, banditry, and violent attacks have continued to heighten fear among citizens, raising concerns over national stability, public safety, and socio-economic development. Discussing the topic State of the Nation on the BCOS Current Affairs Program AM 120, a security scholar at the University of Ibadan, Professor Oluyole Albert, described the nation's security situation as disturbing, noting that the challenges confronting the country have become increasingly worrisome. Professor Albert attributed the nation's challenges more to poor leadership and management than poverty, stressing that some countries with fewer resources have achieved better results in security and governance.
When you assess what our leaders say when they are coming to office, side by side what they do when they get into office, you begin to lose hope to say that probably these leaders are not really interested in problem solving. So in other words, our leaders just come to office and they end up compounding our problems.
Professor Albert noted that there appears to be a lack of genuine commitment by political leaders toward finding lasting solutions to the country's security challenges. He lamented that issues of security have become highly politicized, warning that such an approach could worsen the situation if urgent steps are not taken.
When President Bola Tinubu came in, he came in on the mantra of renewed hope. So I think what we should do now is to renew that renewed hope, believing that things will get better. But you don't just sit down and say things will get better. There's a need for you to have a proposal of what you intend to do to deal with the situation. It is 2 weeks now, and we are not too sure that these children and their teachers will come out in the next 1 week, in the next 1 month, in the next 2 months. And then when they get out, that all of them will get out in one piece and there will not be problems. So we are all anxiously waiting. We are all anxiously waiting for the government to come up with its own strategies for dealing with the problem.
Professor Albert also described insecurity as a persistent problem that has continued across different administrations, raising concerns over whether leaders possess the needed capacity and political will to effectively tackle the crisis. He added that Nigeria's security challenges are not only about leadership but also followership, urging citizens to become more actively involved in promoting peace and security. Professor Albert further called on the government to embrace dialogue and negotiation as part of efforts to address the nation's security challenges. Fedora Afolagwe, BCOS News.
This broadcast of Newscope comes to you from the Broadcasting Corporation of Oluyole State, Ibadan.
The indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, has declared 30th of May 2026 as a solemn day of remembrance for millions of people who lost their lives during the Nigerian Civil War, describing the occasion as a period of reflection, mourning, and honor for fallen Biafran heroes and heroines. In a statement issued today by IPOB spokesman Emma Powerful, the group said the annual Biafra Heroes Remembrance Day remained a sacred covenant between the living and the dead, insisting that the memories of those who died during the conflict could not be erased. IPOB also said renewed debate leading to it had further reinforced the need for remembrance and historical reflection. The group paid tribute to soldiers, scientists, mothers, children, and civilians who lost their lives during the war, noting that the sacrifices impose a sacred duty of remembrance on future generations.
Civil servants in Oluyole State have been urged to uphold the principles of bureaucracy by strictly adhering to the hierarchy of authority and chain of command within the state civil service. The call was made by the guest lecturer at the valedictory and retirement ceremony organized by the Forum of Administrative Officers of Oluyole State in honor of the outgoing head of service, Mrs. Olubunmi Oni, on her last working day after years of service. Staff reporter Olubunmi Lawal brings the details.
The Forum of Administrative Officers of Oyo State organized the valedictory and retirement ceremony for the outgoing head of service, Mrs. Olubunmi Oni, as she bowed out of the civil service after 34 years of meritorious service. Delivering a lecture titled Mentorship and Capacity Building, Preparing the Next Generation of Civil Servants, the guest lecturer, Mr. Oluyole, stressed the importance of mentorship through continuous training and retraining of workers. He also charged civil servants to adhere strictly to established standard operating procedures and maintain professionalism in the discharge of their duties.
The training of officers to ensure effective production. You have to train and train. You have to train and retrain. So when the student finally, the junior officer finally learns what he has been taught by the teacher, he can also step in to be a teacher to teach those coming behind him.
Goodwill messages were presented by colleagues, family members, and associates who described Mrs. Oni as a woman of integrity, dedication, and exemplary leadership with strong motherly qualities.
Giving God the glory for a very beautiful life, hard-working woman, a go-getter. She is everything you can think of. It's true we may have our own other sides, but me, I've not seen any fault in her. She has been a mother, she has been a boss, she has been everything to me.
An amiable woman. She loves everyone, and she's very supportive and passionate about, the service, and very diligent, hardworking, and always look out for progress of others.
Has been somebody that right from childhood, he has always shown that leadership. She handles us like his own, like his children, and she always makes sure that she puts us in the right path. She believes that you live by example. So she always ensures that whatever she wants us to do, she will be the first person to do it.
Highlights of the events included the presentation of a documentary showcasing the official activities and achievements of Mrs. Oni as head of service, alongside cultural performances which entertained guests at the occasion. The program also featured the launch of the forum's lapel, while the celebrants and some retired senior officers were decorated with the insignia. Dignitaries at the event included former head of service, Mrs. Lolade Agbola, permanent secretaries, heads of extra-ministerial agencies, directors, and other senior civil servants. The outgoing head of service was later presented with gifts in appreciation of her years of dedicated and selfless service to Oyo State. Olubumi Lawal, BCOS News.
Nigerian pilgrims participated in this year's Hajj exercise have successfully completed the major rite of pilgrimage in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, marking the culmination of days of intense spiritual devotion and religious obligations. The pilgrims, alongside 1.7 million Muslims from across the world, undertook the core of Hajj rituals, which included sleeping in Mina, the symbolic stoning of Jamarat, standing at the plains of Arafah, overnight stay in Muzdalifah, animal sacrifice, and the performance of Tawaf Ifada at Masjid Haram in Mecca. According to reports, many Nigerian pilgrims were seen today joining other pilgrims across the world to perform the Tawaf Ifada around the Holy Kaaba and observing Sahi between Safa as well as Marwa, officially concluding the essential rite of Hajj for this year's exercise. Despite the successful completion of the pilgrimage, the exercise was not without challenges. Some pilgrims experienced logistical issues at the Mina camps and feeding challenges. However, the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, NACOM, acknowledged the challenges and assured pilgrims that lessons learned from this year's operation would be carefully reviewed to improve future exercises.
The federal government has strengthened efforts to expand the use of compressed natural gas (CNG) in Nigeria with the commissioning of a high-capacity gas station in Abuja capable of serving over 1,000 vehicles daily. The facility is located in Jahi, Abuja, and forms part of government-enabled investments aimed at promoting gas utilization, reducing dependence on conventional fuels, and improving energy security. The high-capacity CNG daughter booster station has a sales capacity of 1,000 standard cubic meters SCM per hour, supported by 2 CNG tube skids with a combined storage capacity of 17,000 SCM. It also houses a mass conversion center fitted with trained technicians and conversion kits capable of converting up to 20 vehicles and 25 tricycles daily. Speaking at the commissioning ceremony today, Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Gas, Ekperikpe Ekpo, said the project represents another milestone in the federal government's push to deepen gas utilization and expand access to cleaner energy solutions.
Meanwhile, the Human Rights Writers Association of Nigeria, URIWA, has called on the federal and state governments to urgently declare an economic emergency. The association stated this today while warning that worsening cost of living crisis is pushing millions of Nigerians into severe hardship. The group said the current economic situation has become unbearable for most households, with rising prices of food, fuel, electricity, transport, and other essentials eroding purchasing power across the country. URIWA's national coordinator, Comrade Emmanuel Onwubiko, said the crisis has moved beyond routine policy responses and now requires extraordinary intervention to prevent further deterioration in living conditions. URIWA warned that the combined effect of inflation, unemployment, insecurity, and weak policy coordination could deepen poverty levels and increase social tension if urgent steps are not taken.
On the foreign scene, the World Health Organization (WHO) today announced the first recovery of a confirmed Ebola patient in the outbreak raging in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The WHO's Anais Legand told reporters that it marked the first among patients who had been confirmed to have Ebola, but stressed that she expected there had been older recoveries among people who have not yet received laboratory confirmation of test results. Legand said the WHO had to date recorded 17 confirmed and 223 suspected Ebola deaths in the DR Congo since the outbreak was declared on the 15th of May, out of 125 confirmed cases and over 900 suspected cases. Legand, a WHO technical officer on viral hemorrhagic fevers, stressed that early access to care can greatly improve survival rates. No vaccine or specific treatment exists for the Oluyole strain of Ebola, which is behind the strain with a possible case fatality rate of up to 50%.
To end this edition of Newscope, here again are the main points. President Bola Tinubu has launched a sweeping national emergency healthcare intervention with the rollout of 145 tricycle ambulances, 6 boat ambulances, and advanced emergency dispatch equipment aimed at saving lives in rural and hard-to-reach communities across Nigeria.
The Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention and CDC has placed the Federal Capital Territory FCT and 9 other states on heightened Ebola surveillance following the outbreak of the deadly Oluyole strain of the virus in parts of East and Central Africa.
The Oyo State government has reiterated its commitment to ensuring safe return of abducted teachers and students in Oluyole local government area.
And on the foreign scene, the World Health Organization (WHO) today announced the first recovery of a confirmed Ebola patient in the outbreak raging in the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
If you see something suspicious, alert the authority immediately for timely response. Be vigilant. That's all from Newscope Desk for now. It was packaged by Ajedoyin Olojede and delivered by
Idowu Shekoni
and Barakat Adekunle. Thanks for listening, and do not forget to tune in for the Yoruba version at 8 p.m. Good evening. Thank you for listening.
ọ̀pọ̀ ti sún ó ṣẹ̀dẹ̀ rí bó ṣe wá mọ́lẹ̀ kedere fẹ́ni tó ti gbọ́ kó sọ fẹ́ni tí ò gbọ́ PCOS bàbá wa làgbà adìyẹ ẹṣin tó ṣíwájú ó ti gbà kó kíni náà tó bá fẹ́ polówó ọjà kájé bùgbàjẹ́ kàn sí wa ní room 2 ó fi dé room 6 commercial department PCOS ilé akéde ẹ wúra wo PCOS ọ̀pọ̀ ti sún ó fakọyọ ó tún clear gan. PCOS ọ̀pọ̀ ti sún wọ́n ṣe bẹ̀bẹ̀ ó tún mọ́lẹ̀ kedere àní right now PCOS ọ̀pọ̀ ti sún ó fakọyọ ó tún clean gan. nísẹ̀yìn PCOS ọ̀pọ̀ ti sún wọ́n ṣe bẹ̀bẹ̀ ó tún mọ́lẹ̀ kedere gbogbo ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ń gbọ́ tiwa Oluyole 88.5 Agilete 92.5 lókè ògùn 96.3 FM gbogbo yín pátá la kí àti ẹ̀yin tẹ́ fẹ́ bá wa dòwò pọ̀ oṣù ọ̀ ẹ máa rí tajẹ́ ṣe o tí ẹ charity ẹ wòrà wò yí o PCOS ọ̀pọ̀ ti sùn ó fakọyọ ó tún clean gan. PCOS ọ̀pọ̀ ti sùn ó wọ́n ṣe bẹ̀bẹ̀ ó tún mọ́lẹ̀ kedere.
Odò ìfẹ́kùn máa lò ẹ́ bínú ìfẹ́jọ́ mi ò fòyà ìfẹ́ níṣe ni lójoojó láláì sáré. Ìfẹ́ rẹ nínú ọkàn mi ó tútù bí omi àmú. You feel my detail life and emotions. Mo ti rẹ́ni kejì mi ẹni bí ọkàn mi. Mo fẹ́ rajo ìfẹ́ jẹ́ fà ẹ́ lọ́wọ́ dání. Kọ́kọ́ ìfẹ́ gbé wa lọ. Girl, I cannot live without you. Olólùfẹ́ mi. Mi ò ní fi gbà kan bọ̀ ọ̀kan mi. Mi ò ní fi ẹ́ sílẹ̀ mọ́ ìfẹ́. Mi ò ní gbàgbé kọ́kọ́rọ́ sọ. Ìkúrọ̀ ṣàní alábàákú ẹ̀wà. Mo ti rìn jìnnà o, mo ti ra bùkẹ́ ọ̀kẹ́rẹ́. Olólùfẹ́ mi máa kẹ́ máa tún kẹ́ nígbà òjò nígbà ẹ̀rọ. Ọkọ̀ ìfẹ́ wa ò ní dànù. Ìpìlẹ̀ ìfẹ́ wa lórí òdodo ló wà. You are my life, you are my wife. In no situation, girl, I cannot deny. Mi ò ní fi gbàgbọ́ bọ̀ nínú mọ́. Mi ò ní fi ẹ̀sílẹ̀ mọ́ ìfẹ́ yìí. Mi ò ní gbàgbé kọ́kọ́rọ́ sọ. Lọ́ṣà ni I'm sure you will linger on down deep my soul. I hear your whispers in my dreams, oh yes I know. Across the ocean and even across the sea, you will always be the one I love. Ìwọ olólùfẹ́, máa rí pé mo tọ́jú ẹ o. Bẹ́ẹ̀bí ara kọ́ ẹ o, mi ò ní fi ẹ́ sílẹ̀ o. Lágbára oníbó rẹ̀, a máa pẹ́ lórí ilẹ̀ o. To show you love and care.